Hi, and welcome to the Man Myth Podcast. You're listening to Bobby and
Just a couple of ex-military crazy dudes trying to make mental health mainstream, especially for men. What people have to deal with on a
right,
day-to-day
right, right.
basis. So this subject, we're talking about Vegas, baby, but not the Vegas like Las
Vegas.
Vegas. It's like the Vegas nerve. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. We're going to discuss a little bit about what happens with it, um, what it can cause, how to help it. It does a lot with. The reason I did this is a lot of the research I've been doing on anxiety and depression is that this nerve comes up a lot because it's super long nerve and it's got a lot of pinch points, I would say. And there's a lot of places where it can be activated, um, and that helps with us dealing with day to day stresses. So good stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, great. So,
His Vegas nerve is acting up.
yeah, it's not happy with me this week. But so if I read this right, it goes this nerve, which I mean carries. So this nerve carries your sensory information, not just for like one part of your body.
Mm.
It's like basically your whole. It carries sensory information from your head. It goes from your neck to your colon, is what I heard. Is that right, or
Mm-hmm.
am I wrong? Okay,
It does.
and but I'm reading about all the things that like stimulating this nerve can do and different ways to stimulate it, and it can help with anxiety, like you said, anxiety, other mental illnesses, even can help with PTSD.
Mm-hmm.
Stimulating this nerve can do all this stuff, and it's crazy to think that one nerve can, like, if you look it up online, 4 million things pop up. It would take you years to learn to watch all these or read all these articles, watch all these videos, everything. It's crazy.
Yeah, there's a ton of stuff that it goes um, through the foramen of the occiput. It goes down into it controls like the esophagus, the heart, the diaphragm, and that's what I when I went through chiropractic college. That was the thing. They were like, "Man, this is a amazing nerve because it controls the diaphragm." Well, then as they went through it, they figured out it was also digestive and kidneys and all this stuff because it's like a regulator of a lot of these things, and it's I think 80% afferent, which means sensory. The nerve is, um, and there's actually been studies. One of the most popular things that I've seen in the last 10 years with this is the polyvagal theory, and that talks about our autonomic nervous system, which is sympathetic, parasympathetic, but there's also what they call polyvagal, which is like the social end of it, let's say. And that's how you interact in a lot of times in social environments. So it's pretty interesting to see the whole how how much it does affect.
Yeah, and I mean, so cold temperature. That's. I mean, I feel like that's the big thing now.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's
Cold
do
therapy,
ice
yeah.
baths, do cold therapy, everything.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but that was the first thing I stumbled upon when I was doing the research, was that doing cold therapy and being cold, having the whole vein or nerve exposed to cold for short periods of time, extending it as you go along, because nobody's doing an ice bath for 45 minutes or whatever these crazy people do the first time you do it. You're hoping to get in there for a couple minutes and then build it up. But um it, so what that from what I read about it. So when as you do the cold therapy to that nerve, to the vagus nerve, it increases the vagal tone,
Tone, yeah.
right? And the vagal tone, and that can decrease your heart rate, um, calm your anxiety, uh, and do a bunch of other things for your mental health. But I've read about the vagal tone was the thing that kind of like I like how they put it, because I don't know if I mean I did like 3 days. This is something you could spend years just doing this, but how they call it the tone, which I'm assuming is the hertz that it receives or emits information. So the frequency it emits at, the higher the frequency, the more information it can carry, which so that would help. Stimulating it would help. That's why it calms your heart rate, because it can regulate that easier. It can regulate all the, like you said, the digestive tract, all this stuff. But like you think, when I was starting this, I was like, it's going to be a bunch of stuff that doesn't, like they're going to say you need acupuncture or electroshock therapy or something like that. No, this it tells you to do a cold shower. These people didn't even want, like the one I saw, it wasn't even a bath. It was just take cold showers every day, and that'll help this nerve. And then massage it. And I was like, oh, great. What's this going to be? Nothing. You just take you find it here and then rub up and down a little bit.
Right.
So it's not like things that you have to be a doctor to do.
The pre-mastoid
Like
massage,
you
yeah.
can, right. You can do all, it says singing or humming can stimulate this.
Yeah.
Because I guess those vibrations go to that nerve and massage it or stimulate it. And sleep on your right side, which I thought was a weird one, that you have to sleep on a certain side of the bed or of yourself. But it would be funny if I thought it was talking about right side of the bed.
Right.
That would have been fun.
That would have been
What
fun.
side? Why does it matter?
Sleep
what
on the
side
right
of the
side
bed
of the
I'm
bed. It's closer to the bathroom.
And
it's the side that vibrates.
And probiotics, they said. Yeah, whichever one's closest to the bathroom, that's the right side.
That's the right side. So, yeah.
Wait, my right or stage right?
Stage right. So the funny thing, in the way that the way that nerves work, I'll keep this fairly simple, but if a nerve is inhibited or it isn't going at the rate that it should go, and it's going to one organ, right, whichever one it is, it can actually slow it down. Now, the same inhibition to that next organ could actually speed that organ up, depending on what the nerve is supposed to do with that organ. Okay. So what happens is the way that the vagus nerve, and it's so big and long, and it's got just all this area that it has to cover. You have to think of it as when you stimulate it, you reactivate it. So that's what the massage or the humming. There's also some very painful ways to reactivate it. There are people actually out there that just reactivate it, and they go up into the diaphragm and they stretch it and they pull it, but it will help. The cold showers and all that stuff helps in a way, but it's not, a lot of times it's not going to get completely through to the nerve that what we want it to do, but it can stimulate it. Even when we talk about chiropractic adjustments, because it's, when they talk about tone, especially the nervous system, it's how it functions, not so much in hertz and all that stuff. I mean, they can measure things in that, but it's really just like you want to increase your nerve tone. What they mean by tone is how effective it works. So a lot of times, people are like, well, it's a cranial nerve and it doesn't have anything to do with the spine, but it does, because there's also the covering of the brain and the covering of the nervous system, the pia, the dura, all that stuff. But that's where like headaches come from. So if there's inflammation inside of the dura, let's say, which is the heaviest coating on the outside, and that's where a headache will come from if the pressure's up in there. If there's that's where the nerve sensors are. Um, so they don't have nociceptors in the actual brain tissue, but it comes from the filling up of the head or the covering of the nervous system. So if there's a what we call subluxation, especially the upper cervicals, then what happens is the pressure changes in it, right? So then you can get the headaches and stuff like that. When that happens, getting adjusted really helps. But it can also be from the vagus nerve not working with the lymph system or not draining through the kidney, those kind of things. There could be a backup. And that's why starting to increase its tone or releasing the impingements, let's just say, on it, or where it's not working as fast as it can, that's where it's important to get that taken care of. And the more that we learn about it, the more we understand. Ulcerative colitis has been syncopes with the heart, peripheral artery occlusion diseases, gastroparesis. All these things can be just from the vagus nerve. And as long as the impingement can be all over the place. That's why it's good the cold shower is definitely good.
Right.
Cold bath's good. The massages are good. The vibration, anything like a vibe plate is good too. And that also helps with the lymph system. But how this relates to what we talk about, anxiety and depression, stuff like that, it also can create chronic pain. And chronic pain can cause depression and anxiety.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
What else did you find out that you were pretty amazed at?
Um, that was most of it. It can help with inflammation. They said that stimulating that can reduce inflammation in the body. This it carries the touch, pain, and temperature info up to the head from the rest of the body. Sensory info. But yeah, I mean that was all I got really.
They've actually done studies with Parkinson's too, which has been really amazing because
Yeah,
it proves because with Parkinson's it's like they want to move but they can't move, and it helps with that because it starts to connect things, and it also assists in the neuroplasticity, which increases the increases the nerve innervations or creates new pathways for it to happen if there's some that are blocked. And I think with Parkinson's, also what they found was that the vagus nerve was thinning, or what they call wasting,
okay.
and it was wasting versus like comparable nerves in that area. So
Yeah,
that's why the stimulation of it, or the in essence waking it up, like, hey, you're not bringing me the
yeah,
information from the digestive tract right now, or the lymph
right.
systems are clogging up, and now you've got all kinds of inflammation and toxicity in your body, which could also cause depression and anxiety, because our body not having the information from the nervous system creates anxiety. And we talked about the autonomic nervous system. The autonomic nervous system is your sympathetic, which is your fight or flight, your parasympathetic, which is your rest. Okay. Those are very simple
Okay,
again. But the other thing with the vagus nerve is they have another piece of that, which is like we call the polyvagal theory, which is the social part. And it would be interesting to see if you, when next time you go into a place where you don't feel comfortable in a social, is do that massage and see if that
yeah.
helps. I mean, it's going to
See
help
if it
because somebody's going
works.
to come
See
up
if it
to you and
helps.
go, "Are you okay, dude? What's going on? You're rubbing your ears."
Yeah, yeah. I think if anybody saw me doing it, they'd be like, "Uh oh, somebody's in trouble."
Well, we talked about. I remember we talked about that. Was it somebody with a like understanding? So they'd be like, "Hey, dude, I massage my Vegas all the time too." Again,
I
could be a
do
little
that
awkward.
too.
Could be a little
Yeah.
awkward conversation.
Listen, what you do to your Vegas in your privacy of your own home is your business. I
What
don't need
happens
to
with
know.
your Vegas
Yeah.
stays with your Vegas. Good.
Yeah,
What?
no, just I actually feel fine. I'm just all clogged up. I'm not clogged up. I was clogged up now I've started getting better, so everything's like draining and
Unclogging.
releasing. So it's been a fun couple days of just like, "Bleh." You all right? Well, you just sound like death. It's fine.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, this
I
is
keep
a
rubbing
cold
my
shower.
vagus nerve. It doesn't help.
A couple of cold
I
showers.
I took one yesterday because I don't like. I'm not a big fan of hot showers. Like I like a
Hmm.
warm shower. Unless I've been like outside in the cold all day, and it just feels good to like have a nice hot shower sometime. But in the summer, I am like, how low can I turn on the heat that it's tolerable for me to get in this? Like I've never been a big. I mean, maybe when I was a kid, I don't remember, but I'm not a hot shower person.
Yeah, that's the
But
when they talk about the cold showers too. There's a like it has to be below 51 degrees ish
right,
because that's where it'll start to stimulate. If you get into something that's like where it's freezing, you test it at 72 degrees. That's not a cold shower. It's a cold shower, but it's not a cold shower that's going to
yeah,
activate it.
it's cold. It's yeah. But that's I told Ash I was going to have the kids jump in the pool the other day because I'm sure it's freezing. It's got. I don't know if it's below 50 something, but it's probably in the 60. It's
Well,
below
maybe
60
maybe for
probably.
a reel, you could take a cold plunge for us and see how it affects your nervous system.
Oh, all I have to do is ask one of my friends, Jennifer. She would she
She's a
has a
cold
cold
plunger.
barrel that she gets in,
Oh
and
yeah,
she says she loves it. She would probably think it would be hysterical for me to get in one too. So
you should try it. It's good. I've done it before. I do like the showers. Even in the summertime, if you take a cold shower, it's not cold enough to really activate it, unless you're a
right,
deep well or something like that. Um,
yeah.
because the water does stay, even though it feels cold, it's not that cold. So in the winter times when you can really get the best cold, which is kind of the opposite of
Coming
what you
up,
really want. But
yeah,
it does create your toleration of cold too, because it does. Have
right.
you ever seen
Well,
Wilm Hof, his stuff,
yeah,
the
yes.
Iceman? But that's
He's nuts. Like running marathons barefoot on the snow. Like, are you kidding
right.
me?
He was actually probably the one person that
He's
did walk
crazy.
uphill both ways to school. I don't in the snow.
In the
So,
snow. And that
but
was
yeah,
just because he liked it. He had fun with it.
right. It was just the way he was. Um, yeah. So even like in the shower that I have the two headed shower, right? So what happens is I go into and I keep it not real warm, just like it's cool, and then I have the other one on ice cold, or as cold as I can, and I go from one to
Yeah.
one, and it's usually I think it's even when you first start, you're going to be in the seconds sometimes when the cold plunges, maybe 30 seconds, 45 seconds, and it's going to seem like
Yeah.
4 years, and then you build your way up to it. But I think they said anything over about 2.5, 3 minutes is it for the vagus nerve isn't going to activate any more than what it did. So when you go through that process, you don't have to stay in there for a long time. Now, if you add time
Yeah.
to it,
Yeah.
then it helps other parts of your systems. So, but yeah, it's the natural way to take care of yourself. One of the many natural ways
Yeah.
to take care of
Yeah.
yourself.
I I don't this doesn't have anything to do with the vagus nerve, but it does have to do with something with the cold plunge. I was watching this reel and this guy was talking about cold water. What did he call it? Cold immersion therapy. Is that what he called it? Cold
Mm-hmm.
immersion. Is that right?
Yeah,
So he said cold immersion therapy is the best thing you can do for your body to burn. And then he said some sort of fat,
brown fat, or
something.
to create it. What happens is you get brown fat, which is the fat that burns, that actually is creates a caloric deficit in a way. So it's the fat you had
Right.
when you were a baby instead of the yellow, what they call the
Right.
yellow fat, but it's a more productive fat.
But he said that if you did this, and he said some whatever number, scientific number that he had done studies on.
Mm-hmm.
And he said if you do it this often, not that you'll burn the fat, but it'll be easy. I guess, like what you said, it's easier for you to burn that fat than yellow fat. Like your body will eat that fat faster or something. I don't know, but he said this is the best thing you can do for yourself. He said, in people trying to lose weight,
Yeah,
if you
brown
added
fats.
that into diet and exercise,
Mm-hmm.
it accelerates your weight loss that much more because it's so something. And he's talking about like how it works on the cellular levels and all this. Like
Sure.
I have no clue what he's talking about,
Yeah.
but it was cool to see that type of thing.
Yeah. Yellow fat is our storage fat, and then brown fat's actually an active. I mean, it has a system to it that is actually much better for you than this what I call the storage fat or the yellow fat. So yeah, it's I mean it's good stuff. I mean they've worked with memory with this and cognition and epilepsy and depression. All these things they've got studies and studies. They've actually have a vagus nerve stimulator that they implant. Which again, why?
I saw something about that.
Right? It's do you really
I forgot to write it down, but you just said that, and I could not believe that I heard that.
yeah, there's been hundreds of thousands because rubbing your in front of your mastoids or taking cold showers doesn't make any money.
Well, I mean, if you're
And
selling
even
those cold therapy baths, that makes a lot of
that
money.
makes money, but not for the pharmaceutical companies. So what they found is
You know,
that
that's some guy who,
if they can stimulate the nerve enough that it decreases the frequency and severity of seizures, enhances mood, reduces daytime sleepiness, improves cognition. It's just it's just this amazing thing because it does affect so much in your body, and so much is related
right?
to everything else. Like if you haven't had a good bowel movement in a while, it's going to make you grumpy, right?
For sure.
Or
I
holding
don't
on to
know how
gas
that
or
is.
too
I'm pretty
much,
regular in that.
or having too much gas, or the discomfort of bloating and all this stuff, because it does, like I said, it works
Right.
on the lymph system and everything else.
But yeah. Well, I mean, not like because I've seen for sleep apnea, I've seen that they have the same. I don't know if it's the same machine or different, but it's the same kind of thing. They implant like a little chip into you, and then part of it goes to I forget what it is, but it all gets hooked up, and then there's like a computer that you put by your bed, and it reads when you're sleeping if your heart rate or breathing rate gets below a certain point, and
Mm.
it shocks your body, not enough to wake you up, but enough to like your. But I was like, that seems like a crazy amount of invasive to do for sleep apnea.
Yeah, but it's people aren't going to make the changes. I remember somebody said there was something about they put underneath their chin. There was a stimulator, and I guess it opens up the esophagus. I haven't really studied much of that because it's just not in my. It's just doesn't make sense to me a lot of the stuff that happens. But
Yeah,
so the other thing is like if we're talking about depression or anxiety, a lot of times what happens is people are sitting around more, not doing things.
right,
We talked about that last week. Their postures forward and everything's forward, which is also it's going to decrease the vagus tone. Those things, the lack of movement, right? How many people that are
right.
depressed are humming and singing? So those are the things that we have to keep an eye
There's
on. Is what correlates to each other because stimulating this can increase all the tone, but also not stimulating can decrease all the tone. So that can be the actual opposite.
right,
More like somebody that was in Parkinson's, right? They don't move that much. I mean, they
right.
move in a different manner. So that would be a place where maybe they could I could see them putting a stimulator implant in, and then they could do it that way.
Somewhere that it would actually benefit some. I feel this is another. When we keep going back to this, it's I want immediate fixes and I want it now, and it has to be some fancy dancy thing. Like it's great. Like that stimulator for the vagus nerve, it probably was designed for people with Parkinson's. And then they were like, oh, I bet if we market this to people that have this, this, and this, they'll buy it. And we can sell, instead of selling it to just people with Parkinson's, we could sell it to all these healthy people that are just too lazy to do anything. And that's the problem. We've become, and I'm guilty of it too. I'm so lazy sometimes. But I have to try to knowingly get active. Like today I was like kind of vegging, and then I was like, oh, you know what? The yard, I got to mow the lawn. Let me go mow the lawn. And then I got myself off the couch, mowed the lawn, and then I didn't stop the rest of the day. Like that
Right.
was, so it's, that initial hump is the problem for me. Like once I get over that hump, I'm good. But it's
And I think that's the way
thinking
it
to
is for a
myself,
lot of
hey, you got
people.
to do it.
Yeah, it's that way for a lot of people. But again, it's like having a list or doing things to actually get that first little push in there, and
Yep.
then just keep rolling with it. Um, so when we talk about, say somebody that had a stroke, and this is why this helps too, is because you'd have to manually massage that, right? The normal range of motion
Right.
and stuff like that will keep the nerve in check in a lot of ways. It's when we have, say that you get a crick in your neck, right? You're the torticollis or your neck's off to the side. What that's going to do is it's going to decrease the stimulation of the vagus nerve. It's going to decrease the signal. So in that case, that would be something where
Right.
you could do the massages or the cold baths or something like that. So, and there's also nutritional stuff, and I don't think I'll get into that too much today, but a lot of it has to do with is feeding in the nerve, and the B vitamins and acetylcholine and those kind of things. Those are kind of the things, and we can break that down later, because that could be a whole different episode. But also people that don't move or move in a different way, and that's why you don't see this in a lot of times with big athletes, because they're moving all the time.
Right. Well, and that's, again, like we as a people have become lazier and lazier as
Mhm.
technology has afforded us that. And we're going to where it's just going to be like Wally, where we're all riding around in hover chairs and things are popping up all around us for us to eat. Like it's not really going to be that way, but the world will end first before we get the technology there. But it's just, and it's hard to be in a bad mood when you're on the move all the time. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like if you're up and active outside and it's a beautiful, like today was like 73 and sunny and just a gorgeous, like it was perfect.
Mhm.
If you're outside mowing the lawn or playing with the kids or doing something, like it's hard to be in a bad mood. Not saying it's impossible, obviously I'm not saying that, but it's much easier to be in a good mood when you're outside doing something active, your heart's pumping, you're doing stuff. But we've, especially since the pandemic, which I know you and they locked us in our houses, and so much more people, so many more people are staying inside for fear of going outside and getting sick or doing this or doing that. We need to get back to, like, when I was a kid, nobody was ever inside.
Mhm.
Like if it was the weekend, you were not, unless it was like snowing or raining. Like even if it was snowing, you'd go play in the snow for a little bit, come inside, go out, play in the snow for a little bit, come inside. But there was never just, and my kids are pretty good. Like they usually are outside playing, which I'm lucky for. I'm happy about.
Mhm.
But we get kids, like we have friends whose kids are, they're like, oh yeah, they just sit in the basement all day. Like, you got to get them outside. Like just do something. Go for a walk. You know, throw water balloons at them. Do something. But
Yeah, I mean, and that's
I
what I'm
think it's
talking about.
a sign of where we're going.
The look at the posture, what they call tech neck now, where the postures where they're on a pad, their heads down forward, and that it's actually irritating the vagus nerve. And then when they actually come up, if they could come up and set up, then it can also cause like an impingement. It doesn't really activate it.
Right.
So it's going from stretch to pinch, and then that's going to cause anxiety and irritation. It's going to cause, there's so many things that movement. It's like I said, if you get a Vibe plate, or one of the best things, or one of those little mini tramps, and just be on those for 10 or 15 minutes, just bouncing up and down. And that's going to activate a lot of the vagus. It's going to activate the digestion, the lymph system, the brain coordination. I mean, it's an amazing little tool. But we've gotten to the state where we lock up our nervous system versus create the tone in it. And the tone comes from movement. When I was at Palmer, we did a study that was in about um, depression, anxiety in a group. But what we did was I think it was, I want to say 4 test groups. We did a placebo group. We did a, a medical intervention drug. We did exercise, and then we did a drug with exercise. And it actually came out that the exercise was better than the drug in exercise. The drug actually decreased the effectiveness of the exercise in the depressive moods. So, but that's,
It doesn't
and
surprise me at all.
that's what, along with many other things, drives me crazy, is the fact that the research isn't done on these meds, and they're
Right.
not done if they're combined. They're not done if there's nothing, because they don't have to. It's just a matter of people are saying, yeah, just, and you see it in media, right? How many times in a sitcom did you say, are you taking your meds? Right? When they could have
Right.
just been saying, hey, are you stimulating your vagus nerve? Right? Somebody hasn't stimulated their vagus nerve today. But see, that's the natural.
Yeah, that's not gonna. That'll no matter what, they'll never
I'm,
say that.
we're going to put it into a
They'll
script
never
someplace.
go. They're never gonna put in for holistic remedies
Right?
in the
Well, they
TV.
do. Every once in a while, you'll hear a chiropractor in there, or an acupuncturist, or every once in a while you'll hear it. So it's pretty interesting. So, but it's a huge thing. I mean, if traumas can decrease it, so you have to increase the tone. It's something that you should do a lot. And another thing is, and this is where I think anxiety comes in with this, is that it actually controls a lot of the heart and the lungs. So when it does that, if it's decreasing the amount of oxygen you're getting or something like that, you're going to feel like you know you're having trouble breathing. How did that be good nose on there? So that'll kick in the anxiety, right? Suffocation is
Right.
one of those, but it's also a fear. I mean, how many people want to suffocate to death?
I'm gonna say none, but I
I'm gonna
mean,
I'm gonna say there's
there's some
probably a
weird
few, but
people in the world. There's,
that also then creates. If you do all that, then it's like, oh, I have to rest, I have to sit down, and then which is also destimulates the nerve. Exhaustion does the same thing. I'm tired all the time. Well, that's going to keep that from
right.
being activated. So it's kind of a catch-22. Um, like you said, it's just getting over that hump, and that creates a big change for a lot of people.
Yeah, and I agree with the rest too, because if you go out and say you're trying, even just trying to lose weight, you go out and you work out for 2 solid hours your first day working out. You're working out, you're lifting weights, you run, you do the elliptical, you lift more weight, whatever. And then the next day, we've all done it. You're like, okay, I can't feel my arms. I can't walk. I got to take a day off. And then the day turns into 6 days, turns into 2 weeks, and then you have to start all over again.
Mm-hmm.
So knowing yourself and knowing your body is half of the battle, I think, because I have to know, like I'm going through the weight loss thing right now, like I'm trying to lose weight. I have to know my body. I have to know that if I push it past a certain point, it's going to be do more harm than good. So I have to like find that sweet spot of where I'll be able to work out tomorrow, or I'll be able to do this and function properly. But I also have to get my heart rate up. I don't have to get my this and that and this and that. And doing what I do for work helps a little bit sometimes. But then there's also days where I'm in one machine room for the whole day and sitting there trying to figure out a problem. So I don't really get to do much. But just because we're saying get moving doesn't mean you have to overdo it or you have to run yourself down. Exhaustion is going to, like you said, exhaustion is going to hurt you just as much as idleness will. So don't do that.
So don't do that. Excellent. Oh, how about a shout out to our Poor Man Poison merch? It's pretty nice, huh?
Yeah. Poor man's poison. I got my shirt too.
Me too.
For those of you listening on the audio, you won't be able to see it, but
it looks cool.
One of my favorite trucks in the whole entire world.
Shop.
Ash's favorite truck ever. Poor man's poison. And they keep amazing me. I keep finding new songs and that I haven't heard before from them, and it's just amazing. I'm trying to get them on here, so hopefully one day that'd be a pretty cool little thing.
So we didn't go into this as deep as we could, but yeah, I think we got the general idea. I think it's one of those things that we, if we just outline it, it's movement. It's not inhibiting the nerve. It's and look it up. Look up the different ways. There's tons of different ways. Like emotional freedom technique is the tapping, right? And that'll also stimulates relaxation, especially on the thymus. It's good for anxiety. But yeah, the cold. If you haven't seen Wim Hof, check him out. I can't imagine anybody hasn't. But
even if they haven't heard, they don't know it's him. I'm sure they've seen him.
Right. Well, it's like they call him. It's the Iceman.
Social media.
Right. So that's what they call him. But the thing that as I walk through this, excuse me, and I look at what inhibits or what creates toxicity to the vagus nerve, one of the things that they talk about is vaccines. One of the things that they talk about is Lyme disease, medications, mold. All these things decrease the ability for the vagus nerve to do what it needs to do. And so, I mean, there's a lot of different views on a lot of the things that I probably could talk about this, but the thing is, your body's supposed to work naturally, and the more natural you can do it, the better. And the more natural you can do things, the easier it is to get to where you need to go. It's maybe not as fast, right? Because most of the like, if your vagus is inhibited, you're going to have a symptom. The modern medicine is to cover up the symptom. What you should be doing is find out why the symptom's there.
Yeah.
So if you have...
So just go get the thing that implants and then
there you go. Then you're done. So, do the cold bath, do the tapping, do the massages, go see somebody that actually does vagal releases. And look into the polyvagal theory, because it's pretty amazing. They've added that to the autonomic nervous system, which it has to do with social connectedness, and it's actually the back side of the vagus nerve, the back of like how it's divided up in your body. But I could go on for hours on this, but so I'll let you go ahead and go.
Let me go ahead and go
wherever you want to go.
Call to action.
Like,
that's what I was going to just ask. You got a call to action?
Like, subscribe, hit the bell. I don't know all this stuff. I need to get my little speech down, but the call to actions is just try one thing for a week. If it's cold baths, if it's the massages, if it's the tapping, if it's the vibration, the humming, singing, whatever it is, just try it for a week and let us know how you're doing. Comment below. Gonna be getting all tech on these guys.
Mine's going to be, listen, everybody, we know that there's at least 20 people that listen to our podcast online. Share the frickin' thing. If you look on the thing, when you're listening to the episode, there's a share button. Click it, share it to somebody, share it to 10 somebodies, share it to 20 somebodies. There's no limit. They don't tell you have to stop sharing it, but I want to get this message out to people.
Yeah, we actually paid paid for the unlimited share program.
Yeah, we paid extra for it. But listen, every time I tell somebody we do this podcast, everybody's like, "Oh, that's such a good thing to have a podcast about." Well, you'd think so, but then we have podcasters that are talking about stupid shit that are making hundreds of thousands of dollars a month from their podcast and reaching millions of people a month.
Well, I mean,
now
really,
just imagine if 1 million guys listened to our podcast
and saved thousands of lives.
How many people would we save if 1 million people listen to the podcast? Not even a month, just 1 million people in 1 month. Or
I like that. Set the bar.
We would save at least 100,000 people.
But which one's more important?
Save people.
Your vagus nerve?
Saving people. I don't give a shit about money.
Or a three-legged monkey?
Your vagus nerve.
Right. Which gets more views? Three-legged monkey.
A three-fucking-legged monkey. And that's the worst part. Like, that's the worst part. I know that, like,
we're going to cat videos. We're going to have cat videos next.
Jesus. That's all our thumbnails are going to be on all our YouTube videos. It's just a cat playing the piano or some shit. But yeah, this whole podcast is about saving people, and that to be able to save as many people as we can, we have to expand faster than we were currently expanding. And it's not something that I want to say like, oh, we need the money, but we have to get this out to people, because it starts with you guys sharing, and then it starts with one person finding our podcast and then going, oh, this person could benefit, and it starts to spread. And that's what we want. We want to spread this message of positivity, and that we don't have to be these emotional islands that just close ourselves off and have to do things a certain way. We're not the men from 50 years ago or 100 years ago. We don't have to deal
I'm kind of
with our problems like men back then did. You're not the same man you were 15 years ago, let alone 50 years ago. So don't start with me there, old man. But my point is, men have evolved, and men as individuals evolved through their whole life. There's no reason that we should be handling our insecurities and our feelings the same way we did when Germany was attacking us.
Well, and we don't have to be perfect.
World War I, nothing's changed.
We're not perfect beings. It didn't work out real well for the last guy. So yeah, share the stuff out of this.
Oh, we almost had him. Share the stuff out of this.
You get me riled up. I might say a swear word.
And just remember,
you are not broken, and you're not alone.
And we love you to death.
Love you to death.